On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we've got a loaded show breaking down the first practice of training camp. The boys were back on the field, and we saw Bo Nix out there. We're going to break it all down, plus who didn't practice as much as we expected him to. And then we're also talking about the big story of the day, Bo Nix and Drew Brees. It all starts now. The Broncos are officially back, baby. They had their first practice of training camp. We were there, and we're going to break it down on the DNVR Broncos podcast live from the Toyota Lounge inside the DNVR Bar. Of course, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. Ryan, how we doing?
Fantastic, man. Football was back yesterday, but now it's really back today. The Broncos were back yesterday, but now they're really back today.
The only we have a few more times where the Broncos will be back. Pads will be back next week. We got fans back on Friday, and then come September, Broncos are really back when they take the field and beat the hell out of Cam Ward. But before we get to that, Ryan, we saw the Broncos on the field for the first time. It was a shorter practice, but the biggest takeaway out of today's first day on the field was what happened about 11 minutes after practice. Broncos were on the practice field for 90 minutes today. We're going to get to the takeaways from the actual practice field
I could not wait
later
to
in practice. He was shout out, sweet graphics. We've got so many more of those coming your way, courtesy of the graphics team. And after practice, Ryan, we heard from Sean Payton for the first time in training camp. We talked about how it's different. Typically, the head coach talks earlier at the very start of training camp. He waited until after this first practice, and he was the only one to talk. And Sean Payton, when he has a full 30 minutes to talk, he's going to use up nearly every single second.
How long did he take?
28
Oh my
minutes.
God.
You had reporters asking like 5 individual questions on their own, which never happens. And Sean was loving it. He wasn't going to shut any of it down. And I think he came into this today with a purpose, I believe. And that purpose was dropping a bombshell on us about the quarterback that he knows and loves, and that is Bo Nix.
Quarterbacks that he knows and loves.
Both quarterbacks, very good, that he knows and loves. So you know what? I'll just let Sean, because it was clear to me that he wanted to break this news. I'll just let Sean break this news for you. You hear? Let's dial up the clip of Bo meeting with Drew Brees. Yep.
Well, I mean, look, I think that can vary depending on. It's easier to say that when you're talking to a head coach that works primarily with the offensive side of the ball and is involved in the play calling. But I think oftentimes it's used in a way, and sometimes, I said this, I think, in the off season, like this was the perfect fit. Who's not interested in that player? It almost discredits the athlete, but it fits the narrative for those that had him ranked where they had. So we're never going to get away from our narratives, are we? We're going to hold on to we were right with that narrative. And so, that was the right fit. That's a great marriage, and that explains any success and all success. And so, but I think maybe it applies more to a head coach that's maybe more involved in one side of the ball or the other. And look, he's
right now. Okay, so that we haven't hit the bombshell yet. So Sean was asked to start that question. A lot of people say that you and Bo have a marriage. Take us behind the scenes of that marriage. And that was what he was describing right there. And then I think this is about 7 minutes into his press conference. And this is where Sean realizes, okay, I was asked about Bo for the first time. I just answered the question. And now is when I need to drop the news that I came in today wanting to drop.
Can I have a take on this first part before we get to the second part?
Yes.
I don't know how often I've seen Sean take credit away from himself.
Oh.
You know, he was basically saying everyone's giving me all the credit for Bo being good last year because they don't want to admit that they were wrong about Bo. He says that takes credit away from the player. He was saying, like, it's not all me.
Yeah.
It's Bo too. And I think that says a lot about his love for Bo Nix, that he's willing to share some credit with him. And the flip side of that is, like, if you were to ask about Russ and his touchdown to interception ratio,
he would say, no, that wasn't Russ.
He would say, yeah, offensively we figured some things out, or something along those lines.
He would say, not that I've heard this before, he would say that's a very misleading and frustrating stat. So then, speaking of his love for Bo, he goes on and realizes this is the time to drop the bombshell. First time meeting with the media since training camp has started, so enjoy the bomb he drops.
But I think maybe it applies more to a head coach that's maybe more involved in one side of the ball or the other. And look, he's someone that works his tail off, wants to improve. You know, the whole off season is planned out. You know, he's gone and visited Brees for 4 or 5 days, and that's Tom House in here. And there's a lot that he wants to absorb in a fast period of time, and that's a great thing for a young player like that. You know, and you know, we're never just going to pick up from where we left off, but there's a lot of building to do when we look at last year, and a lot of positive things to look at. Well, I mean,
it under the rug, but he knows that it's a bomb that he just dropped. Yeah, he and Brees just met for 4 or 5 days. Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Buried the lead.
Who? The guy that everyone has been comparing Bo to since the moment he was drafted. He just spent nearly a week with this offseason.
That is music to the ears of every single member of Broncos country, and everyone who's a fan of Bo Nix, and everyone who's a fan of Sean Payton, and everyone who's a fan of Drew Brees.
Yeah.
It's the best tidbit from the offseason that we could have possibly gotten. Some other tidbits include, like, held a passing camp, or you know, worked with Jordan Palmer, or it could be anything. The best possible tidbit we could get is that Bo Nix spent 4 or 5 days with Drew Brees.
100%. And it truly is the best tidbit we could have gotten. You know what my mind immediately went to? This is now the story of training camp. We're going to talk about it today, and we have more information from Sean about their meeting together. But then you know who else is going to talk about it? Diana Rossini is going to come to training camp later in training camp. We also are going to have Kay Adams here. They're going to just get more and more information on this camp or this meeting that happened between the two. They're going to ask Sean, they're going to ask Bo, and we're just going to continue to find out more and more about this. And it all started today. This was very intentional from Sean Payton, and I loved his delivery, and we have Sean talking about it even more. So let's hear more about this, because the media took a step back and said, whoa. Tell us more about this meeting here.
Good job, media.
Between the two. So here's some more details from Sean.
Yeah, him just reaching out and look, you know, just coordinating some time to dive into the offense, the schedule, the calendar, his schedule, his work week in season. Tom House is someone that, you know, all of that is just stuff he's doing on his own, and again, that's what you're looking for.
So we're going to get, as Sean mentioned, 2 guys. He mentioned Drew Brees and Tom House. We'll get to Tom House in a minute. And you hear, once we talk about Tom House, make sure to pull up the first picture that pops up on Google if you can do that research behind the scenes. But when it comes to his meeting between Drew Brees, so just the meeting between Brees is incredible. And then I love the details that Sean added. Essentially, Bo Nix is trying to become Drew Brees on the field. And so he's just trying to live his life off the field, just like Drew Brees did. And it's not just like, okay, what do you see on the field on this play? Of course, that's part of it. And he's picking his brain along with trying to understand Sean Payton's offense. No one knows it better than Drew Brees. But the second thing there is he's trying to know what his schedule is like during the week, during the season, what his off seasons are like. He is trying to just become mini Drew Brees. And this reminds me of what we talked about yesterday. Jahdae Barron
the cheat code.
has the cheat code with Pat Surtain in the building. Well, Bo Nix has the cheat code with Drew Brees, but he had to go out and set it up. Sean Payton said that he had no idea of this. He did not set it up. Maybe he recommended
He's
it.
a fibber.
But Bo went out of his way.
Yeah.
And I think that Bo went out of his way enough where you can tell just how proud that Sean is. He's like a proud dad right now.
Didn't it come out last year that Bo had spent some time with Payton, like watching film?
Yep.
But it was what, a matter of hours?
Yeah. 4 to 5 hours, let's say.
Okay. The biggest part to this to me is 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
That is no, we were just at the same restaurant together at the Super Bowl.
Right.
That is a coordinated, you accidentally called it a camp.
Yeah.
I think it's a camp.
Yeah.
That is a coordinated camp of like, I need enough time to glean everything from you.
Yep.
And you're not going to get a life story in 4 to 5 days, but you can get damn close.
Yeah.
You can get a lot done in 4 to 5 days, depending on, maybe they went golfing one day, maybe they went fishing one day. But the amount of time that they could spend like dialing in and saying, okay, like this concept, like how did you like to have the receivers run this? What did you communicate to them to make sure that, top to bottom, the amount of stuff that you can go over in 4 to 5 days is really a lot. And that gets me super excited for the actual fruits of this. A nice film session is great with Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Very few people will ever have the opportunity to do that, and it's a huge advantage. 4 to 5 days with Drew Brees is like you said, I want to be you. I want to learn everything I can from you. I need a long time to do it.
Yeah, and the other thing that Sean didn't specifically say, but that is a great conversation for Bo to have, and he can only have it with one person, and that's Drew Brees, is, okay, how do you handle Sean in this situation?
Oh, yeah.
When he's MFing you on the sideline, we already know how Bo handles that. He just goes right back at him, and we absolutely loved it. But when Sean is busy, do you go into his office still? Like all of these things that only one person knows, and that's Drew Brees. So while Peyton Manning, come on, I love Peyton Manning. He's a fantastic tool for any quarterback, especially Bo Nix. Peyton doesn't know how Sean operates. He doesn't know the intricacies of his offense. He doesn't know the intricacies of Sean Payton's mind on and off the field. So it's truly the perfect person. It's the guy he's been comped to, and he just went straight to the source.
It's like, and Sean Payton and Drew Brees never had a divorce, but it's like someone's wife going to the ex-wife for advice on the relationship.
Boy, what would this be? It really is that.
I mean, it's okay. What happens if you don't want him to go golfing?
right, exactly.
Did you have any good plays for that? You have any good cards you could pull there?
Yep. So I absolutely love it. And it just shows another step that Bo Nix is doing in the right direction. We heard yesterday from Mike McGlinchey. We heard yesterday from Pastor Ten. We heard this entire offseason from every single Bronco that talked, just how Bo is taking that next step. And as Mike admitted yesterday, like he already took a step in his rookie year. He already took many steps in his rookie year. We could trust him when he was a rookie last year, and now he's taken one more step. This is just something that adds to that. And let's add to one more thing, because Bo not only talked to Drew Brees, he talked to Tom House. And let's dive into who Tom House is.
That name was dropped twice in that quote. Like we were supposed to know who that is.
Right. I'm sure that was intentional. He just wanted the one person that would get it to get it. Let's tell you about who Tom House is and what this means and why it's another good sign for Drew Brees. And let's do that after I give a shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk. There we go. Red Hawk Roofing, where we're talking about the best. And if you want to be the best, you want to hire the best, you go to Red Hawk Roofing. When it comes to your roof, whether it's hail, whether your roof is old, whether it's just you don't know what your roof is like, you can't see damage and you can't see the quality of your roof from the ground. You need the professionals out there, and that's the professionals over at Red Hawk Roofing. The awesome thing about Red Hawk Roofing, not only the best in the roofing business, but they've been part of the DNVR family for a long time. So we trust them, they trust us, and that means you can trust them. We put our stamp of approval on them, and you can trust them. And the really cool thing is free no obligation roof and property inspection, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. And if you want to support a local business like you do with us, check out Red Hawk Roofing, because whether it's for your home or business, they can take care of it. Go to redhawkroofing.com or give them a call at 720-771-8921. Make sure to tell them that DNVR sent you.
Zach, the last time that I was considering trying to get a mortgage, looking into a house, I had my job at DNVR, which was, I had a solid salary. And then I also had a side gig on the side that was paying me really well. And I went to a mortgage lender and told them about this, and they just said that side gig doesn't count at all.
Wow.
All you can count is your W-2 income.
Even though you're bringing in money.
Even though I was bringing in money, and it made no sense to me at the time. And thankfully for people who are in that situation now, Cake Mortgage exists.
Yeah.
Because they have created their whole business around finding ways to help people like that who are self-employed, who are making 1099 income. Maybe you are a freelancer. Help those people get mortgages, which is really cool in my opinion, and something that breaks down a barrier to home ownership that shouldn't exist. It makes it hard for certain people that shouldn't have such a hard time getting a home. So shout out to Cake Mortgage for creating that. And if you find yourself in that position, whether it's a side gig, a freelance gig, or you're just simply self-employed, get over to Cake Mortgage when you need a mortgage for your home. Cake Mortgage Corp, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions apply.
Before we get to Mr. Tom House, Ryan, I've got to give one more thing about this Bo meeting with Brees. This also tells me that if Peyton Manning's willing to spend 4 to 5 hours with Bo last year, he's going to do that with any quarterback. I don't think Paxton Lynch reached out to Peyton, but I think if Paxton did, Peyton would spend a couple of hours with Paxton. We know Trevor Siemian did that. We know Drew Lock did that. We know that every quarterback that's come into town has at least reached out to Peyton. Most of them have reached out to Peyton, and Peyton is willing to give his time to them. I think this shows 4 or 5 days also shows that Drew Brees believes in Bo Nix. He believes, because, Ryan, if you have a prospect, whether it's someone trying to learn the business or whether it's a client that wants to work with us, if you don't believe in them, are you going to spend 4 to 5 days with them?
No.
You got to believe in them, right?
Yeah. 4 to 5 hours would probably be
right.
overkill.
Exactly. That's a lot of time for someone that's busy, especially someone like Drew Brees. So I just think this also shows that Drew Brees is putting his stamp on him, and obviously Drew Brees knows what good quarterbacks are made of. So I think he has put his stamp on him.
Yeah, I think there's a situation where you say, I'll give you an hour, see what you do with it.
Yeah.
And if you make good use of it, we can come back and talk about more time. But if you're all the way invested, you're willing to get 4 to 5 days. That means a lot. And then real quick, I think it was Jody in the comments said, stop. Bo doesn't need to be Drew Brees. Just let him be his own player. That's not what's happening here. It's not that Bo is going to try and change his throwing motion and do everything the way that Drew Brees does it literally when the whistle is blown. It's trying to learn from a player who is going to be in the Hall of Fame based on his work with Sean Payton.
Yep.
It doesn't have to do anything with being that player in the literal sense, but it means a lot to learn from that player, to try to emulate some of the things they did to print 4,000 and 5,000 yard throwing seasons in this offense.
Yep, 100%. Bo's not going to stop running and scrambling just because he met with Drew Brees this offseason. Right. No. He's going to continue to do that, just pick up the things that Brees was able to dominate NFL defenses with. Okay, let's get to Tom House. And this was the other guy that Sean Payton very intentionally dropped today that Bo Nix met with this offseason. Do we have a picture of Mr. Tom House? Oh my God! I thought he was looking it up
like
earlier.
A 20-minute warning.
Wow. Oh, that can't be Tom House.
Click the third one.
Yeah,
that's young Tom House on the left.
Yeah, I thought you were saying this guy's young. Can we see it on the screen fully, please? You know, the thing that's on the right. Well, anyways, yeah, that can't be him, right? Bo's meeting with him.
It could be him.
Okay, so then who is Tom House? If you just see him from this picture.
Tom House,
Bo Nix is meeting
on this picture, is a Little League baseball coach.
you are close. No, Bo Nix is working on his baseball swing. Wants to become like John Elway potentially, get drafted by the Yankees.
Probably has that in him.
Yeah, and he does have that in him because Tom House is a former MLB player that is now a throwing coach for both baseball and football. Guys, and he became so specific of a throwing coach, not for any specific sport, that he ended up being Tom Brady's throwing coach. And he ended up working with Drew Brees throughout his career on not how to throw a football, but how to throw, but also how to do everything leading up to a throw and how to prepare yourself to throw and how to work on your body and how much to throw in an off season, how much to throw during a season. So throwing goes way beyond just the mechanics that we think of when it comes to Tom House. And Tom Brady and Drew Brees put their stamp of approval on Tom House. So I'm going to say he's probably a pretty darn good throwing coach.
Yeah, I'm learning all about Tom House as we speak. He's been called the father of modern pitching mechanics and a professor of throwing, which is why they call him Dr. Tom House in some circles.
I'm sorry, doctor.
He was one of the first to blend scientific-based pitching study into methodologies. Geez, is that right? For pitchers. He has led elite coaching to become scientific instead of guesswork. He's developed a model that's focused on quantifying movement in each athlete's motion using drills and exercise to maximize accuracy and velocity and minimize strain on players' body. A couple other things. He admitted to using steroids in the 1970s.
Well, it wasn't everyone at that time.
Exactly. He was the first person to lay hands on Hank Aaron's record-setting home run ball.
Yep.
And he gave it back to Hank Aaron at home plate and was awarded a TV by a local store for doing so.
Wow. How much is that TV worth right now?
Probably quite a lot.
No, the TV, you think so?
Yeah.
Because it was exchanged. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Darren Rovell would probably pay millions.
Oh my gosh, that is for sure.
Actually, in today's money, a TV back in the day would be about $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
So,
wow, not bad. He was also portrayed by Bill Paxton in the Disney film $1 Million Arm.
Oh, of course, never watched that movie, but he's a doctor of throwing. He knows what he's doing, and we have one clip of Sean Payton talking about, of course, the well-known Tom House, and he only says good things about him. So he was asked, okay, so Bo met with Brees. What about Bo meeting with Tom House?
Who asked this?
I don't remember who asked him about Tom House. It had to be like the only person that actually knew who he was.
I just feel like it was either Mace or Jeff Legwold.
I think it was Mace, actually. Okay. Yeah. So exactly, you nailed it. Here's how Sean responded.
Interesting. He's amazing. Well, he's a baseball guy. It's fascinating. He's real smart. You mentioned he caught Hank Aaron's record-breaking home run. Literally caught it in the dugout. So he's a baseball guy that really has done a great job with a lot of throwers, and that's the best way to describe him. You know, whether it's baseball motion or football motion. Those opportunities we get to just have a lunch or sit and visit are pretty special for me. He's pretty sharp.
I mean, that's a good stamp of approval. So then he was asked a follow-up question of, so is Bo's throwing mechanics going to change? And he said, no. Bo, we had no issues with his throwing mechanics and throwing process last year. And I watched practice today, didn't see any difference. He says it's just going to be in, like I said, the offseason stuff and leading up to games, how you get your arm warmed up. So don't expect anything drastic change from Bo.
Yeah, I actually randomly spent some time with a quarterbacks coach last night. And
wow.
we were talking all about just like the efficiency of movement and all of that. It was very Tom House like.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that just how much goes into it. It reminds me so much of the golf swing. When I was talking to this guy of just every movement matters. Any wasted movement is just that wasted movement. Mm-hmm. You don't have time to waste any movement. Yeah. It's very interesting stuff. And so, whether it's just getting warmed up differently or whatever, I just love that Bo was on these like side quests all offseason.
Yeah.
It's like he went down to the bayou to meet with Drew Brees, and he's like, Drew Brees is like on his way out the door. He's like, wait, have you met the doctor? He's like, what? He's like, yeah, go down 3 blocks, knock on the door, tell him you're looking for Dr. House.
That is too good. Just because you mentioned the Bayou, Sean was asked, so did these meetings with Drew happen in New Orleans? And Sean like scoffed it off, like, come on, he doesn't live in New Orleans anymore. San Diego.
Wow. Do you think Chargers fans claim him like we claim Payton?
They want to. Yeah. Well, now they officially get to claim Phillip Rivers because he officially retired with them yesterday.
He wasn't retired yet?
I guess not. He retired. He just didn't tell anyone until yesterday. He told everyone that he was retiring with the Chargers. So shout out to Phillip Rivers. He was a guy that I think I can speak for all Broncos fans, absolutely hated. Couldn't stand. It was Jay Cutler and Phillip Rivers screaming at each other. Jay was cussing. Phillip wasn't cussing. And it just felt like this was the rivalry for the next decade until obviously that split. At the end of Phillip Rivers' career, I kind of switched. I was like, damn, I like this guy. He doesn't beat the Broncos. Mm-hmm. He's entertaining as hell and was just a character that I came to actually appreciate.
Something about the way he didn't cuss really bothered me.
I heard it bothered defensive players.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the words that he used were really cringy to me.
That's very fair. Speaking of cringy, Ryan, you couldn't have had a better segue to this one final clip that I want to play. And we're going to go with the Sean talking about defenses not adjusting to quarterbacks and no sophomore slump. This is the final thing that we'll talk about from the press conference, and we'll get to on the field. And I just found this clip fascinating. So Sean was first asked that there's been a lot of talk that during this first offseason of Bo's, a lot of defensive coordinators are going to look at Bo's tape and have a better assessment of who he is as a player going into year 2. And then does Sean have to kind of know what the adjustments are going to be and be one step ahead of all of those? That's the first answer. Then the second one, I think you'll be able to hear the question, is, Sean, do you believe in a sophomore slump? And I found both of these answers fascinating. So let's hear from Sean.
We're all watching the film throughout the year, and so there's not this one off season where there's a group of defensive coaches sit in a room for 2 weeks looking at Bo Nix film. I mean, the study and looking at the system, the players in the system. I've heard that, and I kind of cringe when I hear it.
The idea of not with Bo particularly, but you hear about sophomore slumps too with quarterbacks of like the second.
Do.
What is that also? You don't put much stock in that.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of them. I'm trying to think of the MTV one-hit wonders, and there's not a lot of them that come to mind. I mean, I think it's a term we use, but I can't think of examples that match that term of rookie quarterbacks that excelled, and then all of a sudden what happened in the second year.
I mean, like C.J. Stroud was unbelievable his rookie year, and then maybe they struggled more overall as an offense. But there could be a lot of reasons why.
Yeah, but I didn't look at his season. I mean, I think they went to the postseason. And now, that's a good question. But I think there's bigger picture items relative to this team.
Ryan, what do you think about Sean kind of blowing up 2 theories that have existed for a long time?
He's standing up for his guy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's not offline, I'll tell you that. And I'm guessing he saw the Bomani Jones comment that kind of went viral the other day.
Tell me.
It was just exactly what he was talking about. Defensive coordinators have film on Bo Nix now, and all his passes were behind the line of scrimmage, and this, that, and the other. And so I think he probably saw that and said, yeah, that made me cringe.
He for sure saw it.
Yeah. I'm with him. It's not as simple as it sounds. But we've been talking on this show for, 8 years about punches and counterpunches. You cannot do the same thing forever. There will always be a counterpunch coming from the defense. They're going to try to jam these wide receivers or do things to take away some of the short passing game. And Bo Nix had a whole offseason to prepare himself for that, prepare for the counterpunches that you're going to be able to do for that. And if teams want to do that, people like Courtland Sutton should be licking their chops. And you want to get up near the line of scrimmage? Let's go.
Yep.
That's the beautiful thing about football is it's a chess match. And I think Sean Payton, maybe more than anyone I've ever been around in this game, believes in his chess skills above anyone else's.
100%. Last year, before the Broncos got to the draft, during the combine, Sean Payton was up on the podium with local media members, national media members around him, and said, when it came to evaluating quarterbacks, I'm glad there's a lot of people in this business that aren't good at it, because we are. And then look what he just did. Drafted the 6th quarterback that was supposed to be a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round pick, according to a lot of quote-unquote experts, and did it. So he's not afraid to be confident, cocky, whatever you want to call it. If he's right, then he just continues to prove himself of being an elite offensive coach. The final thing I want to touch on is the sophomore slump. I think he might be on to something. CJ Stroud
won a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, he exactly, not just got to the playoffs, won a playoff game. Like, maybe his numbers dipped a little bit, but did he really have a...
He had a sophomore slump because the offensive line was trash.
And he was still good, though. Like, It's not like he fell off. And so I did a little research after practice. The 2 guys that I could find that truly had a sophomore slump, in as much research as I was able to do, Sam Bradford, he did drop significantly from year 1 to year 2. And then I hate to say this because he's my guy, Mac Jones. And remember what happened with Mac Jones from his first year to his second year?
Yeah.
He went from having an offensive coordinator to his offensive coordinator was
being Matt Patricia.
A part defensive coordinator, and then they also had a co-offensive coordinator who was a special teams coordinator the year before. So he had a defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. Sean Payton ain't doing that. It's still Sean Payton in the building. So Sean actually might be onto something.
And it's such a great point to bring up, Zach, because this is another thing we talked about in the several coaching searches that we've covered over the years.
Too many of them.
Go get an offensive coach, because if you get the offensive coach and you pair them with the quarterback, that marriage lasts forever.
Yep.
If you get the defensive coach and you nail the offensive coordinator is a head coach for the next young quarterback, not for your guy.
Yep, 100%. Exactly right. So, Ryan, after all of this talk, how did Bo Nix look in his very first practice of his 2nd year starting training camp? We were there. We're going to break it down after I give a shout out to our friends over at Factor Form, where you sometimes see the green juices out there, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to drink those. It's not going to taste good. It's going to do much for me. Over at Factor Form, they've changed the game with greens, because you'll actually look forward to these in the morning. You might actually wait for a little treat at night, and that is because they have partnered, and they have so many. They've got the Daily Greens, which is greens powder, which is powered by Factor Form, that you'll look forward to drinking. 1 scoop delivers 100% of your daily nutrients. It's a great way to start off your day, filling your nutrient gaps, supporting whole body health, and helping you feel the best. It's refreshing, citrus, clean and smooth taste that's actually enjoyable to drink. And Daily Greens by Factor Form is made from real vegetables, packaged with a whole serving of kale and spinach without tasting like it. It's the #1 rated in taste, texture, and aroma. And it also has prebiotics, probiotics, adaptogens to support your gut health and reduce bloating. So if you want to get your hands on this, go to factorform.com/DNVR to get the Daily Greens by Factor Form, and to get free shipping on it, plus 40% off. Use that code DNVR over at factorform.com/DNVR.
we're getting ready to enter the ticket high season. You know, during the summer, you got concerts, which you should use Game Time for. You got baseball, which you should use Game Time for. But I find myself, my ticket budget staying in the bank a lot during the summer. That does not apply in the fall because we're going to have football games coming up. Yep. Right after that, you're getting basketball and hockey starting. And then you still have concerts, you know, towards the end of the summer going into the fall. And so you guys got to be over on Game Time. I don't even have the other apps on my phone anymore. I used to kind of like price shop around and see, oh, is this available there? It was Game Time so many times in a row that I just got rid of the other apps.
I had the exact same experience.
Yeah, and the other part of it is the user experience on Game Time laps the field when it comes to the other ticketing apps. So get over to Game Time. Slide the bar to all-in pricing so you never have to worry about the taxes and fees. It'll tell you exactly what you're going to pay before you pay it. And once you do that, you're 2 clicks away. Click the seats you want, click buy, and the tickets are coming to you. It's the absolute best. So get over to Game Time and use the code DNVR to unlock, I believe it's $20 off of your first purchase, which is a great little incentive there too.
The Broncos were back on the field today, and of course, it's the Bo Watch. How did Bo Nix look in his first practice at training camp? Another sweet graphic from you here there. How is Bo doing? And it starts with...
That's what we went with for that.
Yeah, I guess.
How's Bo? And I was like, cool. Make it up.
All right.
Let's Bo on this one. Ryan, today was the first practice, meaning it was 90 minutes long. Guess how many team snaps Bo got?
10.
I wish. 4. He got 4 team snaps. But the good news is, before teams started, it was 7-on-7. So we got to see Bo sling the ball a total of 8 times in kind of real football purposes. And so it started with 7-on-7. And oh my goodness, I was right my MVP ballot for Bo Nix in the 7-on-7s. He didn't miss a single pass. Went short a couple of times, but Ryan, the throw, it might actually be the throw of the week. He had in 7-on-7s. Adam Troutman going up the seam in the middle of the field, about 25 yards down the field. You hear showing you some other highlights from practice today, the ones that we were able to film. But Adam Troutman going up the middle of the field, Alex Singleton in smothering coverage on him. I mean, you couldn't have asked for better coverage. You have Hufanga coming down over the top. There is no way this ball should be completed. And Bo puts it the only place where anyone could have caught it. And shout out to Adam Troutman, who came down with this pass, hit the ground hard too, and still held onto it. Adam Troutman making a strong case for number 2 tight end. It was a perfect throw. It was a great catch. And again, when that ball was released, I saw Singleton in coverage and said, he's not getting it. And then I saw Hufanga over the top, and I thought, oh no, this could be a pick. Nope, came down with the catch.
Shout out to Adam Troutman for reeling it in.
Wow, that's a good one. Yep, he did just that.
That's awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah, so the rest of 7-on-7s, Bo was perfect. He hit Pat Bryant. He hit Michael Bandy, both of those short, and he started off by hitting Marvin Mims short as well. So a perfect 7-on-7. We did see RJ Harvey catch a ball out of the backfield on a completion from Jarrett Stidham. Keep that in mind. We'll circle back to that in just a minute. And then when it came to the team period, the defense said, yeah, that was enough. You can win 7-on-7s. We're going to win this team period. And I'll tell you what, it started with the very first play. J.K. Dobbins, running back to start team period. He would have got blown up. And he's not a guy that looks like he's going to get blown up out there. Defense said, we've had enough. We're not letting anyone through the middle of the line. So that play was done. So Bo didn't get to throw the ball. Next play, defensive jumped. They were excited. They wanted to get after Bo. So reset. Bo goes on a boot. You could tell he was just pissed off the way the play developed. Just threw it out of bounds. Didn't like how that happened.
There, in the comments they're asking, they heard he spiked the ball in frustration. Is that what's being referenced here?
No. It was actually the next play where a handoff did not... Where did they get that detail? That's very detailed. It was the next play where it was supposed to be a handoff, a stretch handoff to the left side, And I don't know what happened. If it was the offensive line, if it was the running back, my guess is it wasn't Bo. If it was the defense blowing it up so much, but something went wrong where Bo was supposed to hand it off. He just ended up holding the ball and then throwing it out of frustration. They did that play again in a walkthrough style, which does not happen often. Something really went wrong with communication, so they had to do that again. And then the final play.
See, I would guess that if Bo was frustrated like that, it's most likely with himself.
That's true. Maybe it could have been.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. So maybe it was with him. And then the final one, it's good that this was practice because Jonathan Cooper would have ripped Bo Nix's head off, and it would have been a sack. So team period, the defense came back around.
Good time to remind everyone that the defense always has the advantage at the beginning of training camp.
Yep.
I wasn't there for the Manning training camps, so I can't say for sure if that held true then.
Yeah.
If it held true then, it's holding true anytime. But every training camp I've ever been to, it held true.
Yep.
The defense always starts out hot against the offense.
And that's why if the offense looks great in any of these first, honestly, 5-7 practices, that's going to be the biggest storyline that we can talk about. And the most encouraging, exciting is, if not, it's par for the course because this defense is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Jonathan Cooper, it's Nick Bonito, it's Zach Allen, DJ Jones blowing up run plays. It's everyone. Oh, by the way, we haven't even mentioned the Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain, who's out on the field as well. So that was pretty much the biggest takeaways in terms of what happened on the practice field. But Ryan, there was some other notable news from practice, what we saw on the field, and it had to do with who was and who wasn't practicing. You want the good news?
Yes.
Everyone was there. Everyone was there. So, of course, every team at this point is watching for holdouts. Okay, they're going to be on contract holdouts. Then you narrow it down to the teams of, okay, what teams have a lot of guys that might hold out? Ryan, I have to imagine the Broncos are at the top of that list because they've got Nick Bonito, who could have a new contract. They've got Courtland Sutton, who could want a new contract. Zach Allen has made it clear he wants a new contract. So JFM has made it clear he wants a new contract as well. That's 4 high-profile guys and starters. 3 guys that could get massive money. All of those guys were there today, and all of them practiced to a degree. The one guy that was noticeable who didn't have a full practice, who we think is healthy, and it seems like he's healthy, is Courtland Sutton. So we saw Courtland out there. He did individuals. I believe he was out there for some 7-on-7s. No one that I talked to, and I wasn't able to see him out there for any team. And it's interesting because you have Vele out there. You have Marvin Mims. I think, in fact, the first 2 guys that I saw out there with Bo were Vele and Mims. And someone asked, was that a 3-wide receiver package? No, it wasn't. Courtland just wasn't on the field. Okay, so what's going on? So Sean was actually asked about this after practice, and he gave a lot more information than I was expecting. It's not a ton of information, but it's more information than I was expecting. He was asked something along the lines of like, what's going on with Courtland? He was out there, he seems healthy, but maybe not doing as much as other guys. Is it something with his contract? And here's what Sean had to say.
You're going to ask me about a few contracts. Oh, he did. He was. Look, there's a number of guys. You're going to ask me about a few contracts. They're all, being worked on. Something we really would never discuss with you. And those guys are getting worked on. So, there's been good communication, and I'm just going to leave it at that relative to the specific players. Oh, he did.
I'm never going to tell you anything about this, but the contracts are being worked on, and there's good communication there. And
he basically didn't answer anything about why Courtland wasn't fully participating.
So where does your mind go?
A couple different places. One, the first place, and this is my honest take, is that in training camp, there's a lot of just rotation that goes on. And so you've got a lot of young guys you're trying to get looks at. You've got undrafted guys you're trying to get looks at. I think it's possible if they're just rotating the wide receivers heavily and saying like, Court will ramp you up to, getting most or if not all of the reps with the ones. The other one is like maybe there was a behind the scenes, under the table type of agreement that's like, okay, until we get this new contract done, like show up so we don't have to do this holdout bullshit, and we'll give you a lighter load in practice.
I think that's probably exact. That's at least where my mind went. No source information there or anything, but that's what I think's going on, Ryan, is, and it takes me back to last year. Literally, it was, I think, tomorrow. It was after like one or two of the acclimation practices where not much is going on, where Courtland Sutton got his incentives thrown in the deal, the extra $1.5 million. And then he was full go right after that. But before that, it was a little bit of this going on. And so that makes me think, okay, we're 24, 48 hours away from a Courtland Sutton contract, whether it's incentives for this year or whether it's a whole new deal and they rip up the deal that he has right now. I think we're close to something going on, because if Courtland wasn't going to get a contract until 4 weeks from now, I don't think he's doing this, because there's no way that he goes through all of training camp and everything's still happy-go-lucky, yet Courtland Sutton is never taking a team snap. That's not going to happen. So this indicates to me that they're close. Let's just get it over the finish line. And until then, you won't have to be exposed to team, whether it's for injury, whether it's just you can have a little bit lighter load in practice there.
Yeah.
So I'd keep your eyes out for a deal coming down for Courtland Sutton fairly soon. I thought it was interesting that Sean said with all of these guys with contracts, we're working on them. Good communication. It doesn't mean a contract's going to get done.
Nope.
But as Sean said, he doesn't like to talk about contracts at all. George Payton doesn't like to talk about contracts at all to the media. That's not always the case. John Elway would be willing to talk about a contract situation that was going on. These guys like to keep it very close to the vest. And Sean gave us a little bit there, which I think is encouraging for all of these guys.
Who asked Sean Payton about Crawshaw?
It was probably Mace. Yeah. And because at the end of practice, we saw Jamie Crawshaw booting the ball. Ryan, he's got a massive leg, especially.
It's all about the sound.
Oh my! And it sounds so good, and it looks so good. Most of the time, there's other times, as Sean admitted in the press conference, where it's like, the ball's way over here. Let's just bring it back into the middle. Because today there were probably some punts that went 68 yards in the air that would have had to been fair caught because they went so high and just a perfect punt. Other ones that probably would have tracked 27 yards until they went out of bounds. They still would have gone like 70 yards in the air, but it's just about getting that consistency for him.
Sounds like my tee shots.
Yeah, exactly. The good news is you have like 2 months until it needs to be perfected.
Love it. I need to perfect mine ASAP.
Okay, some other notes from practice today. Who was the first running back? Who got that first carry?
JK.
Huh. Interesting.
Unless you were JKing.
No JKing going on here. Just an interesting thing to notice. Maybe tomorrow it's RJ getting that first carry, and it just switches every single day.
Well, who got the first snap at quarterback last year in training camp?
It was Jarrett Stidham, right? Yeah. So we're far from anything being decided here.
And I just mean, like, I think vets usually get that luxury.
And this was actually the first time that we got to see JK in a full practice, because he practiced 2 times a mandatory mini camp after he signed with the Broncos, but he was off on the side field the entire time. He warmed up with the team and went on the side field. He was a full participant, which was great to see JK out there. And RJ, I think it's pretty clear. We broke it down. It's going to be those two. I think that was very clear today. Another great sight to see, Ryan, throughout the entire offseason. We didn't see Alex Singleton and Dre Greenlaw together. We didn't see either of those guys out on the practice field in terms of working with the team. They were both out there, both working in 7-on-7, both working in team.
Ooh, love that.
And I got to tell you what, man, this duo together, I mentioned Alex's name because of the Troutman catch. He was in perfect position. Those two, I think, are going to be so good for the Broncos inside linebackers this year. And you can already tell the juice that Dre Greenlaw brings to the field.
Did that Bay Area-based reporter ever issue a retraction?
Not one that I said. Maybe in hiding after Sean Payton blasted that reporter.
Yeah, well, it's official.
Yep.
You were wrong.
You were very
and
wrong.
You almost made us do an emergency podcast.
Come on a Sunday? That's so inconsiderate.
Seriously.
shout out for that report just being absolutely blown up.
Thank God.
Yes, seriously. Jahdae Barron, we talked about it yesterday, how his name isn't talked about a lot. He didn't make any plays today, but I thought it was fascinating that to start the team period, you had number 2 on one outside, and you had number 12 on the other outside. Now, we did see plenty of Riley Moss as well. Found that fascinating, though.
I find that fascinating, too. And, sometimes the discussion in offensive line is like, you got to find a way to get your best 5 out there. Maybe with these corners, it's the conversation is you got to find a way to get your best 3 out there. And it's really a combination between Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan, even though they're not directly playing the same position, to prove that they are one of the best 3.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's going to be about Riley playing inside and outside. It's going to be about Jahdae playing inside and outside. So I think we're going to get so many mixed signals over the next 3 and 4 weeks at training camp, Ryan, in terms of like, oh, wait, I think tomorrow Riley Moss is going to be the outside corner opposite Pat Surtain. We're going to say, oh, okay, was yesterday a fluke? Did he not perform well at practice? Was this the plan the entire time? And then we're going to see when they go out in 3 cornerbacks to start, we're going to see Jahdae inside, Riley Moss outside, and, of course, Pat Surtain outside. I think they want to find out, is Riley Moss or Jahdae better on the outside and inside? And between those two, what's the best package? Because I do think those 3 are the starting cornerbacks, but I think what they want to find out is Jahdae the outside corner and Riley's the inside guy? Because even though Riley had a good season last year on the outside, I know that this team believes that he can be great on the inside. Well, Jahdae was great in college on the inside too for 4 of his 5 years at Texas until he went to the outside last year. So I think that's what they're trying to figure out this training camp. And we're not really going to know until week 1 comes around.
Facts. Great points all around.
So, I mean, that was a lot of takeaways for 4 plays that happened at Broncos practice today. Yeah. What are we looking to see moving forward, Ryan?
Pads?
Yep.
When's that happening?
It's the 5th day. Pads can come on.
So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep, so it's Monday.
All right, I'll see you Monday.
Broncos are off on Sunday, so it would be Monday, and that's traditionally how it goes. The first week is the ramp-up period. Fans are back this Friday, and then on Monday we get the pads popping.
Yeah, I mean, that's really when this starts to count, in my opinion, especially when we're talking about, position battles and things of that nature. So until then, I just want to see you guys stay healthy. We've seen injuries too early in training camp before. I want to see Bo looking crisp and in control. I want to see the defense make it really hard on him to the point where maybe we might have to get the old Von Miller situation, have Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper get the hell out of there and let the offense operate a little bit. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's let's just stay healthy.
I completely agree. Rod Blocker brought up an interesting point. I was just talking about how we're not really going to know what's happening at that second cornerback spot for a long time, maybe even until the season starts to see how it shakes out. I think that's going to be the exact same thing with the receiver position, because when Court's out there in team, we all know he's the number 1 receiver. I don't know if there's a number 2. If there's a number 3, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think you mentioned it earlier, how coaches like to rotate receivers a lot. Sean Payton likes to rotate receivers more than anyone in the NFL. And Court is probably going to be a mainstay on the field for the most part. I think we're going to see, not just in training camp, but during the season, so much rotation at that 2 and 3 receiver spot between Marvin Mims. I think Marvin gets the start. Troy Franklin has shown enough where I think he's in that rotation. Devon Vele is absolutely in that rotation. And another guy, Pat Bryant's in that rotation. There's 4 legit guys for 2 spots, maybe even 1 spot if you're playing Evan Ingram and Mr. Adam Troutman, who I guess you can't take off the field now. So you're going to see a lot of rotation in those guys. So I wouldn't read into who's starting on a day in and day out basis.
No, definitely not. but this is exciting. This is usually a question for me to answer, but I'm going to ask it to you since you were there. Did the vibe feel different? What was the vibe? Could you feel something in the air?
So last year, Sean Payton put out "Young and hungry is dangerous," and that was his. I think throwing it out to the team, like, I believe in you guys.
Yeah.
Now you guys gotta believe. There's none of that anymore. The Broncos just went to the playoffs. It is just it's confident. It's the vibes are a playoff team. It is. We don't have to prove anything to anyone. They still want to. They still have a lot of goals to hit. But it's not a tense place to be. When it was Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, it was like, okay, a lot of energy on everyone's shoulders. Can they live up to it? Yep. Now it's like there's no pressure because they truly believe in what's going on, and it all starts with Sean Payton.
Yeah, I think the word I would use based off of your kind of assessment there is like workmanlike.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's just showing up for work.
Yeah.
Like, just let's get this work in. There's a lot of times where it feels like the team has to like somehow become good during training camp.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, like I remember feeling that way during the Case Keenum era. It's like this team's like, in Case looked great. We talked about it a million times, but it was like this team's like trying to figure out how to be good, how to win games. All these things change the culture. Like all these words and buzzwords that we've thrown out for a long time during a training camp. And like, that's just not it. This is year 3 with your head coach. Everyone should be comfortable with their system. A lot of the same players are back. There's very few holes on the team. It's just like, let's go out and get better every day and then go to work.
And there was a lot of friendly banter, specifically in like warm-ups. And I love to see that because it gives me hope, Ryan, that when the Broncos go into San Francisco for that first joint practice that they have, the Broncos look like the 49ers did in that last joint practice that you and I saw, where the 49ers were jacked up and the Broncos were completely flat. It gives me hope that this team is going to have so much energy because they're bringing the energy during warm-ups to each other. They're trash-talking each other that when they go out to San Francisco, they're going to be the ones that take all of the energy out of the Bay Area.
Remember when the Niners came in here and cranked the music up and then took it to the Broncos? We were like, shit.
And you know who I think is going to lead that this year?
Dre Greenlaw.
It's going to be Dre Greenlaw back in San Francisco. He knows how much the 49ers wanted him, and I think Hufanga is going to be right there with him, Alex Singleton. I think that's going to be awesome. And then the very next week, the Broncos host the Cardinals. The Broncos are only a handful of teams to have 2 joint practices with different teams.
Love it. Can't wait.
I cannot wait for that. Do we have any comments, super chats that need to be read here? As Donald Wilson.
Go ahead.
Oh, as Donald Wilson says, love taking that over 5.5 game bet last year. Yeah,
that was fun.
That was easy.
I bet it up to 9.5.
And wasn't that the max you could do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments said like, RK, your fit looks like Henry today. What's up with it?
I did see that.
I'm wearing the exact same thing I always wear, just with a hat, which is like 25% of the time.
Maybe he's morphed into you a little bit.
That's true. Someone also asked, when does Henry come back? I have no idea. I texted him. He didn't respond to me, so hopefully he didn't get like eaten by a grizzly bear.
Yeah, I think he is supposed to be off the
he's off the
grid right now. So you're right. Hopefully he's off the grid in a good way right now.
Yeah.
Later this week, I believe.
All right. I texted him on Monday. My brain wasn't working very good because it was Monday morning. But I texted him, is Zach back today? And then he never responded.
and then
I could have just texted you, are you back today? But I don't know. I didn't think of that.
And then we were not back on Monday.
No, we didn't even have a show.
Yes.
I was here for it. I should have just sat down in the chair, pressed live, and talked Broncos by myself for an hour.
What would you have gone with, like a training camp preview? Would you have gone with like reacting
Q&A.
to the first Q&A?
Live Q&A.
Oh, well, we have another minute of this show. We have a live Q&A.
No, because then we're gonna get 50 questions and not have time to answer any of them.
That is very true.
There was a comment in here that said Zach Seacrest. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. You know what?
That's twice in a row.
So yesterday, for a couple of days, I've been getting a lot of comments on social media and from texts from friends about just how long my hair was, and I was like, I didn't have time to do it right before training camp. So after training camp yesterday, and the show yesterday, I went and got a haircut.
You even saw your local DJ.
Yeah, exactly. My local DJ, who, of course, DJs cut hairs. And I'm still getting those comments about the hair. And so, you know what? I'm just going to embrace it. I love it.
All right, Ryan Seacrest was a good-looking man.
Was?
Is?
Yeah, okay. Thought you were saying something about his age or something.
Well, he might. I don't know. I haven't seen him since American Idol season 1.
Oh, that's where he's from. I just thought he was a New Year's Eve guy. I just hosted the New Year's Eve party every single year on ABC.
Such a classic.
That is a very good Zachism.
That's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow, of course, because Broncos have training camp. 2:05 right after practice wraps up. We will be going live to bring you everything you need to know. Practice is a little longer tomorrow, so maybe we'll get more than 4 plays. My bet is we will. We'll see you tomorrow after day 2 of Broncos training camp.